American black women are facing a crisis. Stereotyped, generalized, fetishized, single, impoverished, obese, and heavily studied. How can black women at large break away from society's negative perceptions and even our own damaging behaviors to move into God's perfect design? This ministry seeks to empower black women to achieve God's goals for their lives by becoming elegant, healthy, loving, honorable women of standard. And lastly, an elite marriageable class of women no man looking for a wife can turn down. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now let's get started. Whew. All right. Thank you, Jesus. I'm going to start this podcast, the very first podcast, with a prayer. God, I thank you just for the opportunity to speak to your black women. I thank you for the idea to do this ministry, and I thank you for the lives that will be touched. I pray, God, that we will have ears to hear what your spirit is saying. Speak through me, not my way, but yours. In Jesus' name, amen. Wow. Thank you so much for joining me on the very first Proverbs 31 University podcast. My name is Abigail. I am a wife of over 10 years. I am a mother, and I am a child of God. I probably should have said that first. I'm very excited that you're here, Black woman, because I want to talk to you. This podcast is specifically for you. It's specifically for you. I want to talk about why Black women are not getting married. Why are Black women the least likely to get married and stay married? Oh, yes, I have some interesting stats that I am going to be showing you during this podcast. I'm going to talk about these stats. We're going to try to break it down. I'm going to talk about some articles, show a video. I want to address this crisis because it is a crisis. The stats say that overwhelmingly women want to be married. Even in a society where marriage rates have declined, the value of marriage has also declined with all races of women. However, women still overwhelmingly, even though a lot of them are chasing their careers, a lot of them are doing well in their careers, chasing education, a majority of women still, in general, want to experience marriage. They want to be married. Black women, this includes us as well. However, we are the least likely to be married and stay married despite economic status. Why is that? Why is that? I'm going to tell you why I believe that is. I have a few theories. I'm also going to talk about some theories that other people have about why Black women are the least likely to be married and to stay married. So before I do that, though, I want to go ahead and just tell you why this channel, this podcast, this ministry exists. I, being a married Black woman for over 10 years, have noticed that there just aren't that many. When you look at the stats, and the stats I'm going to tell you, it should shock you. It may not shock you because a lot of Black women have grown up in a single mother-led home. The father wasn't there. There wasn't a marriage. A lot of Black women have not seen an ideal godly marriage. So a lot of Black women don't know how to be married, don't know how to be an option for marriage. And I want to change that. It pains me. I believe that God has created Black women to be married. Now, not all women are going to get married. Not all women desire marriage. I do believe that some women are supposed to stay single and serve God that way. But I do truly believe that a majority of women are supposed to be married. And it bothers me, it pains me that a majority of Black women are not married. I grew up in a single-led family home. My mother was a single mother. She was a career woman, a working woman. She was married before, but they were separated for over 20 years. I came into the picture. I was adopted. I came into the picture. And then my mom got back with her first husband and were together until the day he passed away a few years ago. I remember having a conversation with my mom. She was telling me some things that alarmed me about her thinking. I was surprised. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that you thought that way. However, looking at our situation and how things were ran in the past and growing up in a single parent home, I can understand how you had that mindset, and I see that now. So hindsight is truly 2020. But it just bothers me to see Black women be something else other than wives. Again, not all women are called to be wives, but I believe a majority are. And a majority of the stats say that women in general want to be wives, and that includes Black women. However, we are not wives. A lot of us are not taught how to be a wife. I believe a woman is a wife from the time she comes out of the womb. She is taught and trained, and it is in her to want to be kept, to want to be married, to want to have children, to want to have a nuclear family. However, society, the way the Black community is, the way the media and the music portrays Black women, radical feminism, the way that has ingrained in our hearts, it's really stopped us from pursuing wifehood and being the type of wives that we need to be and to attract the husband that we want and need. So that is one of the reasons why this podcast exists, because I want to help empower Black women to be wives, to be a wife. The Bible says he who finds a wife finds a good thing, meaning you had to have already been a wife to be found. You don't become a wife. You become a wife legally by marriage, legally by law. However, you are already the quality and all of the personality and the traits of being a wife are already in you in order to be found, according to that scripture. Another reason why I started this channel is just because I don't like the stereotype, the generalization of Black women. And sometimes we as Black women play into that. It's not always a generalization. It's not always a stereotype. You know, Black women are more hypersexualized. Black women are thrusted in the media, promoted by some of these female rappers and female artists and entertainers and movies and media as BBL, big butt, hypersexualized women. And that is some of our own doing. And that's also just the market seeing that it sells, them doing that to us. But our reputation is terrible. Our reputation as women is terrible. If you were to do just a random interview and ask random people on the street, no matter what their race, what they thought about Black women, I can guarantee you they would not say loving, soft, caring, nurturing. They would say things like loud, aggressive, assertive, independent, strong-minded, strong-willed, things like that. And some of those things aren't bad, but it should not be the totality of us, because at the end of the day, we are still women. We lead with softness. We lead with pureness and innocence. We lead with loving, nurturing. We lead with empathy, being empathetic. That is what we are supposed to lead with. But unfortunately, that is not the perception of Black women. And again, a lot of it has to do with the media and the way we were brought up and how we saw Black women in our families and our communities. And some of it also has to do with us playing into that, because we just didn't know any better. Let me give you some of these stats when it comes to marriage specifically. Black women are the least to marry. Least likely of women to marry. Black women are the most likely to divorce or be separated from their significant other. Black women are less likely to be married than Black men. So there are more Black men that are married than Black women. Black women are more likely to be single mothers. So they're more likely to be the head of the household. More Black women are more likely to be in poverty. And I want to go into that specifically before I just say that stat. The reason is because single parent households are more likely to be in poverty. If you look at the stats, nuclear families, 2-parent married households, a man and a woman married together are more likely to be financially stable than not. So if you are a single mother and you come from a single mother-led family, the stats say you're more likely to be in poverty. Black women with college degrees are more likely to divorce than other races of women. with college degrees. I thought those were really, really interesting stats. Now let's talk about stats of black marriage in the past. Listen to this. This is interesting. Black women were more likely to be married than white women from 1890 to 1960. And it stopped in the early 1970s, late 1960s. That's when it started to dip. It dipped for all races of women, but it dipped more. So we could go into that as well. I have a lot of deep things on that. I think the welfare state played a part of that.
Why does the welfare state dissolve the family structure?
For one thing, it makes it unnecessary for fathers to support their offspring. And in fact, it makes it counterproductive in many cases. A very poor man who might be able to support his family realizes his family will be better off without him. But on the other hand, someone who's strictly irresponsible, either the man or the woman or both, now pays no price for being irresponsible. The taxpayers pay the price. And actually the harm done to the taxpayers, which is serious, still is not comparable to the harm done to the families, and especially the children.
To the kids.
When you tell women that they can't have a man in the home in order to receive benefits, and women were agreeing with that, that also is going to cause a problem. So yes, black women are the least likely to marry. Now let me tell you the benefits of marriage. Let me tell you the benefits, because there are benefits to being married. According to research, married women have better sex, and they have sex more often than single women. Children raised in two-parent married homes are more likely to succeed in life than children raised in single-led homes by moms. And the prison system is evidence of that. A majority of men in prison come from single family homes, single mother-led homes. Married women are less likely to be in poverty, as I stated before. Two-parent married homes are more likely to not be in poverty than single-led homes. So that's another reason why you want to be married. Married women are less likely to be in debt. Married women have the highest life satisfaction rates, and married women live longer than single women. So those are some benefits for women for why you want to be married, black woman. You're going to live longer. You're going to have better sex. And I want to talk about the better sex part. I read an article that did a study, and it basically said that there's an orgasm gap. Now, I'm sure you as a woman have heard that, a majority of women have orgasms, not so much due to intercourse, but oral sex and foreplay and things like that. But this study said that women who are in a committed relationship, and that includes marriage, are more likely to have orgasms than women who are not in a committed relationship. So, if you're hooking up, having one night stands, having casual sex, whatever, got a friend with benefits, you're not in a committed marriage, you're less likely as a woman to have an orgasm, because biologically, women want to be kept. They want to feel safe. We search for security in our man. And marriage is the ultimate security for a woman, which is why women want to be married. Generally, more women want to be married because it gives you that security. There is a security blanket there. So if you're not in a committed marriage, you're not going to have an orgasm. According to the stat, I will put the stat here. You're not going to have an orgasm because you don't feel safe. You don't feel secure. You're more likely to feel safe in a committed marriage. You're more likely to feel safe with a man who is learning your body. You're learning their body, who wants to please you. You want to please them. They hear your concerns. Okay. Now, listen, there are some marriages that are sexless. There are some marriages that have intimacy issues, right? However, the research says a majority, I want to deal with facts here, okay? I don't want to just deal with emotions, because women, we are very emotional people. And sometimes we can allow our emotions and our anecdotal experience trump what the facts say.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
The facts say that if you're not in a committed marriage, you're not in a committed relationship, you're less likely to experience sexual pleasure. And this is why married women have the highest satisfactions in their sex lives, according to research. So if you want to have a better sex life, you need to be married. If you want to live longer, not be in poverty, not be in debt, you need to get married. Okay. This is what the stats say. Okay. Now I'm going to give you some theories on why black women are not married. Some of these theories I agree with and some I don't. But here is it. Mass incarceration. I have seen this pop up enough in my research. Mass incarceration is one of the things that a lot of people like to say is why black women are not getting married. There are more black women than there are black men, and majority of black men in prison. So that is why. I'm going to tell you that may be an effect, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that it's because of mass incarceration. First of all, if you are looking to be married, you're not trying to be married to a criminal. Let's be honest. You don't want to be married to a criminal. So a majority of the people that are in prison, you as a woman would not be looking their way anyway, unless you like bad boys. Unless you like thugs, unless you like, people breaking and busting in your house and all that kind of stuff. That was a joke, but seriously, there's some women who like the fast life.
I love scammers.
But a majority of women shouldn't even be looking to a man that's in prison. That's not even something that should be on your radar. So I don't think it necessarily has to do with that, because I just don't feel like men in prison are who we want as husbands. Now, yes, there are some men in prison who have been falsely accused. There are some men in prison who should not be in prison. The system might have been rigged. The evidence wasn't conducive to it, but somehow, I don't know, maybe somebody took a plea deal just to get it over with. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. There are people who have been exonerated after years and they did nothing. However, I personally believe that majority of people in prison should be in prison. There was probably enough evidence, enough witness statement to put them behind bars. And I do believe a majority of people in prison should be in prison. I think it's a very small percentage of men or women in prison that should not be there, or that was there by mistake, or, the system was wrong. That's my personal view. So I don't necessarily believe that mass incarceration is the reason. Okay, I would say that abortion is one of the reasons why there aren't that many black men. 40% of black women get abortions. Black women, according to the Guttmacher Institute, I hope I said that name right. That was the abortion industry's leading researcher for years. They say that black women are the most likely to have abortions. And our population is still only about 14% in the whole U.S. Since Roe v. Wade, our population has kind of stagnant and we haven't grown because of abortion. Okay. As a Christian, of course, I'm not pro-abortion. I'm definitely pro-life. I believe God is a God of life. However, if you see a majority of abortion centers are in inner city communities where there's a majority of black women.
What certain groups are targeted by the abortion industry?
Definitely the African American community. I think that it's a travesty, and it's really devastating our community. It's gotten to the point where in inner cities, especially where the Planned Parenthood and the abortion facilities they set up camp there, where abortion is up to 50% in most cities. And in New York City, we just heard 60% of all abortions are performed on black women.
There's many abortion signs and billboards that cater only to black women. Black women are the abortion industry's largest client. If we were to ever stop getting abortions, the industry would die. So black women get the most abortions, and that's one of the reasons why I believe that there is a disparity in black men and black women. I don't think it's all because of mass incarceration. I think it's because we have aborted a lot of our black men. There clearly is an attack against men in this country and in the world, because men are supposed to be leaders. They are supposed to be the protectors. They are who God has called to lead society and families. And so they want them out. And if there's no black men, this is why you have a lot of single mothers. Well, one of the reasons why. So I definitely believe abortion plays a bigger part than mass incarceration, because I don't believe that when it comes to mass incarceration, I don't even believe that most women should be looking to someone in prison to be a husband and a father and the head of their household. Another issue, this is personally my reasoning. I believe that feminism, radical feminism, if you look at the rates, black women were more likely to be married than white women. To sit here and say that marriage is a white woman's game is a lie. Black women were more likely to be married than white women until the late 60s, 1970s, when the second wave feminism, sexual revolution, the pill, all of that was introduced. Welfare was a part of that as well, in my belief. When that started to take off, you can see marriage rates tank, and it's been tanking ever since for the Black community. Radical feminism, teaching women that they are independent, they don't need a man.
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. One. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down, because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really.
They can have hookup sex, casual sex with whoever they want because they have birth control, they have abortion access, and they have the pill. Remember, abortion also was another thing that the sexual revolution part of feminism, promoted. So it's not a surprise, in my view, when you look at the data, that the marriage rate started to decline, that the abortion rates in the Black community started to go up during that time. Radical feminism, 40 plus years of radical feminism from then until now, still is preaching women chase your career, women have children later, women be promiscuous, don't worry about, having sex with whoever, don't worry about that. You don't have to have sex with a committed husband. You need to just have sex with whoever you want. It's in our culture, it's in our music. We have female musicians, entertainers promoting this stuff.
I don't need a man to tell me what a party is. For the girls who don't need no man. Queens, we don't need no man.
This is what I believe the main reason for the Black woman, not getting married. They're not. Also, when it's funny because there's such a battle of the sexist online between men and women of all races these days, especially because of the internet.
Men can 100% exist without women.
I forgot how useless men are nowadays.
But it's always been there. It's always been there. But it seems like it's even more. The thing is, it's funny how radical feminism, or the feminism of the sexual revolution, thought that it was actually helping women. But it actually ended up hurting women because we stopped getting married. No fault divorce was introduced. So you could get a divorce at that point for no reason. If you just didn't want irreconcilable differences, I'm out. Not before. It took a lot to get a divorce. You had to have some evidence of some stuff. You had to have a plan in action. There had to be a real clear reason. It couldn't just be we just don't love each other. We grew apart. We separated. No fault divorce was introduced at that time. And so you have higher divorce rates, high abortion rates, high promiscuity rates, STD rates through the roof. Okay. I saw a report that said Black women are the highest numbers of new HIV cases today. Okay, so sexual promiscuity, it doesn't just hurt women. The feminist movement of that time didn't just hurt women, it hurt men, because back in the day, a man had to serenade you. A man had to woo you. A man had to really want you to be his wife in order to get the cookie. He had to work. Now, because of promiscuity, because of the sexual revolution of feminism, a man doesn't really have to do that much work. Now, you would say, yes, they do. Women aren't just sleeping around. Okay, but the stats are showing the abortion rates. A majority of these abortions are happening to single mothers, a lot of these abortions are happening to mothers who are not married, okay, in the Black community. I'm specifically talking about the Black community. Okay, a lot of these men, they aren't committing to these women. So that makes them feel like, I got to get an abortion because I can't raise this child by myself. There's no man there to help me. So you have to understand how all of this is interlocked. It's all interlocked. The abortion industry is big. Feminism introducing this didn't just hurt black women. It hurt black children, because black children who are not raised in a two-parent married home are going to have worse lives than those who did and are. And it hurt black men as well, because there's articles on the benefits of marriage. And one of the benefits of marriage for men is that it gives men a sense of responsibility, so they're less likely to make bad decisions because they're heads of a household. But when the sexual revolution came and taught women, or basically taught men, that they didn't really have to woo a woman, commit to a woman, do anything of substance for a woman to get into the draws, of course marriage rates decline. Of course there's less commitment. Of course there's men who are less likely to commit today. So we really have to pay attention to where a lot of this comes from with us. Feminism, in my opinion, the sexual revolution feminism didn't just hurt women, but it hurt men. It hurt men and it hurt children, because now a majority of them are being raised in single mother-led homes. Now, the marriage rates for all women of races have gone down, but it's worse for black women. So I do want to say that. My biggest thought is it's feminism, okay? Feminism teaching women that you don't need a man to survive. You don't need to have a nuclear family. You don't need to wait for sex or have a man wait for sex. Just do what you want. These are the consequences. More divorce, less marriage, less faithfulness, less commitment, more abortion. Another reason. Now, this is going to be interesting coming from me, because as you can see, I am a big woman. I wasn't always this big, but I am a big woman, and I am in the process of losing lots of weight. Thank you, Jesus. And I posted some about my journey on my shorts, so check it out. But another reason why black women are the least to marry, this is my theory. A majority, over 80% of black women are considered obese.
4 out of 5 black women in the U.S. are overweight, and more than half of all black women are considered obese.
We are dying faster and at higher rates than women in every state from preventable diseases like diabetes, like some cancers. I mean, that is directly related to the way we care for our bodies.
Why do you think that is?
On the priority list of things in a black woman's life, unfortunately, health has fallen down the priority line.
Over 80% of black women are considered obese. I even heard something that said more black women are obese than black men. So if you, as a woman, want a man to do what he's supposed to do, protect, provide for you, protect you specifically, he got to run you out of there. He got to make sure that you're safe. It's not going to be easy if he can't just quickly pick you up and get you up out of there if need be. I'm going to show you a video. I hope I can find this video. Okay, now this is just an anecdotal video, but it was really interesting because this is coming to my head. This guy, skinny guy, it was a flood. The street was flooded. He was trying to carry this woman out of the flood. He wasn't able to do it, but another man was able to help the situation, help his girl. And, yeah. I think she was a little bit bigger than him, and so that might have been tough. And then you also have the waves and all of that stuff going on with the water, so that didn't help either. But it's not going to be easy for a man to protect you in the way that he needs to if it's hard for him to carry you. It's not going to be a situation every time where he's going to have to put you over his shoulders or carry you and pick you up like a knight in shining armor. But if those situations were to occur, it should be easy for him. And a majority of black women are overweight. It's accepted in our culture. We have to lose weight because I have a stat on this. Obese women are less likely to get married. So if you are obese today, meaning you're not obese in your marriage, but you are obese today, You are less single. You are less likely to be attractive to men because men do not overwhelmingly want obese women. That's not attracted to them. Doesn't matter what Lizzo is saying and body positivity is saying. A lot of men just are not attracted to obese women, just like a majority of women are not attracted to short men. It's biology. It's biology. If you're obese, you don't look like you're fertile. You don't look like you're healthy. You don't look like you can bring a child to full term. Now, yes, there are some men who are attracted to big women, but that's usually a sexual fetish. And yes, there are some men who are married to big women, but were they always big? Did they start out big? Were they always big, or did they become big gradually through the marriage? Like me. Like what is it? What is it? If you are obese and single, you're less likely to get married according to the stats. I know it goes against body positivity. I know it goes against what we're listening and hearing today, but that's just the truth. And if men were honest, they don't want women that are big. Now, black men usually do prefer curvy women, but we're confusing curvy with obese. Certain women are, not curvy. They are just morbidly obese. So if you want to get married, you're going to have to lose weight and be healthy. That's more attractive to a man. And I believe that's one of the reasons why black women are not attractive to men. A lot of men for marriage. They will have sex with a big woman. Yes. But will they introduce that big woman to mama? Will they take that big woman home to marry? According to the stats, no. So this is something that we as black women have to think about. Maybe one of the reasons that black women are not getting married is because we're not attractive to a majority of men out there. And we have to figure out how we can lose weight and get healthy so we can be attractive, because we should want to be married. And there are a lot of black women that want to be married. Now, listen, I hope that I'm saying this to you in a nice way. I am not trying to beat you up as a black woman. I am not trying to harm you. I'm not trying to trigger you, but I do want to tell you the truth in love. The Bible says that we are supposed to speak the truth in love. And let's be honest, sometimes we don't tell each other the truth as women. Sometimes we just, yeah, girl, you look good. Do I look fat in that? No, girl, you look good. Instead of saying, actually, that's probably not that flattering for your body type. That attitude, you got to stop with the attitude. You know what? This is your 5th relationship and they all broke up with you. You must be the problem. Like, we as women have to hold each other accountable, and we have to be loving but truthful. Just as God is loving but truthful to us, right? The truth shall set you free. So, and listen, I realize I'm big too. I wasn't always big. I didn't get married big. However, I'm big too. And I'm getting my weight down because I want to be healthy. I want my husband to be attracted to me. I want to feel good about myself. So let's do it together, black women. 80% of us are overweight. That's not good. We are the largest, most obese demographic in the country. That is not attractive to a majority of men of any race. That's another thing I want to talk about. There's a lot of people that say black women need to date outside their race. Black women need to just leave black men alone and date outside their race.
Y'all be thinking y'all the only option. Baby, I can go date an Indian, a Hispanic, a white man. Y'all not the only options out here who think y'all doing well for yourself, and that's the problem.
Stanford law professor Ralph Richard Banks says it's time for black women to, this is a quote, give up the good fight on marrying a black man.
Here's some truth. If black women are the less likely to marry, then they are the less likely to be approached by men of any other race. No man of any other race, no matter how much you're interested in them, no matter how much they may date you or have sex with you, they are not rushing to marry black women. If they were, that would be different. And I'm sure the rates of marriage for black women would go up, but it's just not happening. I also want to put to bed that a majority of black men are married to other races of women. Not true at all. blackdemographics.com, for us, by us, boo-boo. Blackdemographics.com says 85% of black men who are married to black women. So a majority of black men who are married to black women. Now, black men, according to the same stats, are more likely, twice as likely to marry outside of their race than black women. However, a majority are married to black women. We can't sit here and say that black men are not interested in marrying black women because it's not true. The stats clearly say that. It is not true. However, they are twice as likely than black women to marry outside of their race. So it shows that there are other races of women who are interested in them and interested in them for marriage. But it's not the same with black women. Black women are more likely, if they get married, to marry a black man or just not be married at all. And it's even worse when it comes to dating. I honestly don't care who you marry, as long as it's a man. As long as it's a man. I just want black women to be married successfully, godly, and happily. But according to dating apps, black men and women are the least responded to. They are the least likely to get a match. Black women are the least likely to get a match. Black women are the least likely to be responded to, or someone of any race, a man of any race, to initiate. So what does that tell you? That black women are not even dateable to men of other races, according to the dating apps. No man of any other race is really interested in marrying and being in a long-term committed relationship or even dating black women. Okay? Now, this article that talks about this, I'll post this as well. It says because of the stereotypes, which is what I want to buck against, which is I want to tear these stereotypes down, because these stereotypes, these generalizations, and they're not all generalizations and stereotypes. Sometimes we as black women play into it. Okay? We have to be truthful about that. But these perceptions of black women is what drives them away from us. We're bossy, sassy, loud, angry, aggressive, masculine, not soft, not pleasant to be around.
She was on this run. We all was on this list. I was in front of her.
He's getting married. Don't shed no tears for that frog ass looking man, baby. I know your mama didn't raise no fool.
All of those play a huge, we're independent women, we don't need no man. All of that plays a huge part in why we are not attracting the man that we want, and why we are not getting married, and why men of other races are not looking to black women outside of just maybe having a good time. Now, here's another one. I think I said this at the very, very beginning. But black women, according to a stat, black women are more likely to be sexually harassed at work, according to the article. Again, I believe that this plays a part in I think it's because of our image. The image that we put out there as black women online, in the media, for decades has been a sexualized one. If you look at the top female rappers, black female rappers, top black female singers, if you look at just certain movies, certain people in the industry, now you can say we shouldn't just look to media, but the media really does control the narrative and control the mind.
So, of course, I watched the VMAs. The only thing I honestly took away from that is just the difference between black artists, especially women, compared to just everyone else. and I'm just wondering, what's with the hyper sexual, what's with the, why are black women so sexualized, in the music industry?
The over-sexualization of black women is a detriment to us. You talk about what's not helping us, that's not helping us.
And also, if there's a place where there are no black people, they're only going to see black women through the media. And if a majority of them, they see twerking, if a majority of them, they see wearing skimpy clothes, talking about their female genitalia, cursing, acting a certain way, they're going to think black women are easy. They're going to think black women are sexy. And that's all they're going to see us. as.
你觉得黑人女生怎么样？
黑人女生
对，
比较好，比较热情，然后个人觉得比较性感嘛，然后胸啊。
好，我想问你，你对黑人女生有什么印象？
就是她们身体很健康，看起来的很强壮。
哇。
Black women do come to Asia a lot of the times. When they come to Korea specifically, they search for these videos. A lot of the time in these videos, go and watch them. It's kind of like, yeah, we like black women, they're sexy. Yeah, we like black women, the bodies are da-da-da-da. It's a sexualization. It tends to be a hypersexual thing, and then the women here play up to that.
They still have a lot of stereotypes against black women out here, so they either think we're like really like easy or like down to try like a lot of things.
So I believe that is one of the reasons why, if this, according to the study, one of the reasons why, I didn't say the reason, one of the reasons why black women are more likely to be sexually harassed at work, because people see black women as sex objects. They do. And that is how black women are portrayed. Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Ari Lennox, Doja Cat. I mean, I can't think of any more, but the list can go on and on and on. A majority, I don't know that many women online, or I don't know that many black women that are pushed out there. Chloe Bailey, Normani. I don't know that many black women that are pushed out there in the music scene or in the entertainment scene that don't take off their clothes, that are modest, that are put together well. I know that there are some, but the ones that are being pushed by the media are not. And that hurts our image. So a lot of people, they think black women are sexy. They want to have sex with black women, but they don't want to commit. And that's men of all races, excluding black men, because black men who do marry are more likely to marry black women. So to sit here and think that, as a black woman, I'm going to just date outside my race, I'm going to just get me a man outside my race. Yeah, it's not going to happen according to the stats. It's not going to happen according to the stats. Another reason why black women may not be getting married is because I think black women feel that there are not enough good men for them. Maybe that is. Maybe some black women feel that there's not a lot of quality men out there, specifically quality black men, because black women are more likely to have college degrees. And, a lot of them are focusing on their career, and they're not doing blue collar work as much as black men. So they are more likely to do service jobs or, white collar jobs. So there's a disparity there in money making, possibly. There's a disparity in values. Black women are more likely to have faith, specifically be Christian, be Protestant Christian. And a lot of and I will say, black people in general have started to become more atheist, or accept more African spirituality, or become more agnostic, not as Christian as they were in the past, according to stats. However, black people are still more Christian than any other race in the nation. So they're still more likely to be Christian, Protestant Christian. And black women are more likely to be Christian than men. If you look at the churches, the black church specifically, there are more black women in church than there are men. There are black men in the leadership, but when it comes to the actual churchgoers, there are less black men, which is unfortunate, because a lot of people meet their husband or their wife in church. But unfortunately, there's just less men in church. And that's not just black men. That's in general. There are less men in church in all denominations of Christianity. However, in the black church, it's really bad. It's like 60-40 or like 70. It's just bad. It's more black women. So that's why they're not meeting who they want to meet in church, because they're not there. Which poses a problem, because if you want a man of God, I'm not saying that you won't find one. you may find one outside of the church. There's this female pastor called named Stephanie Ike. I believe that's how you say her name. She recently got married, and I heard that her testimony was that she didn't want to marry a man in church. Now, she didn't say she didn't want a Christian man. Clearly, she met a man that was godly and a Christian, but she just didn't see him in church. So you may not meet your Christian man in church. However, that is a good way to meet a Christian man in church. And if they're not there, that is a problem. So maybe some black women feel that the men today don't have the same standards and qualities. Now, I'm pretty sure you heard of Ebony K. Williams and that infamous interview she did with Iyanla Vanzant.
I want you to speak, Iyanla, to how women need to position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if he owns the bus? If he owns it. If he owns the bus.
See, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Basically, she was saying that she would not date a bus driver if he did not own the company. That caused the bus company, that caused a lot of problems. There were some people who said she was dissing all blue collar workers and saying that they were just below average. And how could she say that when her mother was a bus driver?
People were upset that they felt like that you were putting down the average person, quote unquote, average job, and the person that was working the average job.
And then some women agreed with her and said that, she's a high powered attorney and she's making money and she's successful and she should want a man at her level.
Actually, I think if people were being honest, a lot of people would agree with her. But, because someone else did it, we can all point at her and be like, she's being mean. She's putting down the bus driver community. This woman is a woman that went to college and universities and got her several degrees and is a lawyer that probably makes a lot of money. And I don't think she was putting down bus drivers. She said she wanted to date the owner. We've all talked like that.
It was a lot of debate. Listen, if you are a woman making a certain amount of money, I can understand why she would have that view, because women are hypergamous, men are too, but women want a man that is on the same level as them financially or above. Especially women in general, but definitely if a woman is high powered. The problem, though, that Ebony doesn't realize is that she was married in her 20s before, so she's divorced, and she said that she wasn't ready to be a wife. So she blamed that on her. She took her accountability, but she was married before. A few years ago, she was engaged. That didn't work out. And now currently, I read an article that she was trying to have a child as a single mother. Let's just put it that way. Now, there were chances for her to be married. There were chances for her. She clearly has no problem getting a man, but keeping a man doesn't seem to be happening for her. So when you're 40 and your past relationships have all failed, and a lot of it because of you, from your view, the last relationship I think she had during COVID, she said that she broke up with him after 4 years because he spent COVID lockdowns with his children and not with her, and she wants to be number one in his life, and that was cause for separation.
You know what? This quarantine, I think, like a lot of couples, Wendy, it made us tell the truth about our relationship.
How long were you with him before quarantine?
Almost 4 years.
Did you live with him at the time of quarantine?
I'll tell you what happened. He actually did not quarantine with me. He has 3 children, 2 of which are young adults, and he chose to quarantine in New Jersey with his semi-adult children. And for me, listen, I'm not a parent yet, so I get that they're number one.
Right.
But I need to be number one, Wendy.
When you're at 40 plus years old and you have a personality as she does, she seems very, I'm not going to say, she just seems strong-willed is the word. She seems very strong-willed. A lot of men who have the earning potential or who are earning the money that she's earning or more do not want a lot of times women of that age, but they also do not want a woman that seems like she could be aggravating. Okay. And that's the problem when you have a preference like that, because the bus driver could be a very good, wholesome man that takes care of you and protects you and helps you. But it's very difficult for a man in the top 10% of earners to want a woman of her age, but also of her attitude. With her attitude. It's just true. They rather get with a 19-year-old that's not going to give them that much problems. That's not going to be arguing with them or trying to co-lead with them, or, that's going to be argumentative, or come with a lot of baggage from past relationships and have certain expectations. It's just not. Now, you may say that's not right, but it's just what it is. It's biology too. Let's be honest. For centuries, women have always preferred older men. And for centuries, since the beginning of time, men have always preferred younger women. And a lot of times, the men who are the top earners who are making six figures are usually in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So if you don't want to be with the man that old, then you're going to realize that you most likely are not going to get a man making that much money in your age range. But Ebony is older, so I'm pretty sure she doesn't really care too much about the age. However, a lot of times men who are making that kind of money and who are that old do not want to deal with a 40-year-old woman who seems to be a headache. They just don't. And if you look at her past history as well, it seems like she was kind of the reason why a lot of that stuff didn't work out. So I get her having a standard, but biology also plays a part too. It does. It does. So, Black women, I'm not saying that you should lower your standards. However, a majority of Black women also, I saw the stat that said a majority of Black women, it was only like 32% of Black women that were enrolled in college actually graduated. So a lot of Black women aren't in college, and a lot of Black women haven't graduated from college. Okay. So to the notion that most Black women are college educated and going to college and getting degrees, that's not really true according to the stats. Now, the ones that are doing it at rates higher than Black men, but it's not a majority of Black women. I myself don't have a college education. The highest education I completed was some college, and I did some trade school. Outside of that, and I did theology school. Outside of that, I don't have a college degree. Okay. I don't have a bachelor's or anything like that. And that's a majority of Black women. So we have to also stop making it seem like most Black women are making lots of money and they are just going to college it's not true. Actually, the stats show that white women, Asian women are more likely to graduate college than Black women. So it's not a majority of Black women going to college. So a majority of Black women only really do qualify for a blue collar man or a man who is making $50,000 a year, because that's usually the average. So that's also just something that we can think about too. Not saying that type of man that's making six figures don't want you. If you don't have a college education, a lot of times they don't care if you do or don't. However, I'm just saying we have to stop thinking that we have to aim so high to get that type of man, when in reality, we don't even have that kind of education, and it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, those men and men in general are looking for just specific things. They want a woman that is nice, agreeable, loving, nurturing. And that's really it. Supportive, respectful. It's not that much. They're not looking for a woman making six figures to have all these degrees and all this. That might be a plus. That might be great. But a lot of men just want a girl that's nice, a girl that's just warm, a girl that they can be open with and transparent with. And they know it's not going to blackball them and tell all their business. Now, I want to go ahead and react to this video from this woman. She has a femininity channel. Her name is Jasmine Theodora. She is gorgeous. She is someone that I am subscribed to, so I would suggest you subscribe to her channel. She is covering basically why high value men, a lot of women should probably avoid looking for, average women should probably avoid looking for high value men in the terms of with the definition of a high value man being a man that has a lot of money. And she's going to give you her reason why. And I agree a lot, because this is something that women, especially black women who want that type of man, they don't necessarily consider this.
Mine is a guy just being an above average earner with a high status. That's essentially how Kevin Samuels, may God have mercy on his soul, and the Red Pill Manosphere Collective talk about high value men. In fact, Kevin Samuels had 6 specific factors that he used to qualify a man as high value. If you're a high value man, then you, according to him, have to 1, make at least $120,000 a year, 2, for at least the past 3 to 5 years, 3, have group acceptance from other high value men, 4, network with other high value men, 5, have the reputation as a high value man, meaning having your income and public image linked, and 6, have utility, meaning that you're useful to others. Being a high value man in this.
Okay, so I think that is the definition that I've heard too, Kevin Samuels' definition. I really believe that Kevin Samuels was the one to really bring the term high value man into the stratosphere, and that's where we get the term from. And so that is, I used to watch his show, and that is exactly what he used to say. I would say the last part to me is the most important. You're useful to others, because I believe that's what everyone should want to be. We should all want to be useful to each other. I believe God wants us to glorify him. And one of the reasons we can glorify God is by serving our community, serving our husbands, serving our children, serving, our church, serving the community at large, serving others. That is what God has put us to do. The Bible says that the greatest of these is a servant. Not the least, the greatest is a servant. So if you are useful to others, your resources, your time, your personality, your knowledge, your skill is useful to others, I think you're doing God's work. Now, it got to be something of integrity. That service needs to be of integrity, not setting up webcams and doing crazy stuff. Not that type of service. But yes, also one more thing, I did hear that Kevin Samuels came up with the definition, this list of qualifications to be a high value man, because he looked at men from the past and present. He saw that they all had these things in common.
Vein has very little to do with character. If a man makes a lot of money, what that essentially signals is, unless he's a nepo baby, is that he's competent, he's disciplined, he's a hard worker, and those are all, of course, valuable traits. I am not here at all to say that you should want a man who's incompetent, undisciplined, and lazy and makes no money at all. What I am saying is that if you are an average young woman in your 20s or 30s and are looking for men in the same age group, there is an infinitesimally small chance that you're going to find a man in your age group who makes 6 figures, let alone a wholesome man who wants to be monogamous who makes 6 figures.
Right, which is what I was saying early. Most of these high value men, I did hear him say that a lot of those men reach their financial prime in their 40s and 50s. So they're older. And when women would call into the show saying that they wanted a man making 6 figures, he would say, are you willing to date a man much older than you? Because those are the ones who are making that kind of money, not men in their early 20s or 30s. And a lot of times I would hear some women say, no, I don't want a man too old. Or they would say, I don't have a problem with that.
The average 25-year-old man in the US at least makes $40,000 a year. The average 35-year-old makes $60,000 a year, and this is probably before taxes. Only about 10% of men in the US at least make 6 figures. 10%. And you better believe that most of those men are not that young. It takes time to get that kind of income. They're probably at least 45 years.
Right. Not only are they not that young, but they're highly sought after, clearly, because if you have a majority of women saying that even average earning women saying that they want a man making 6 figures or more, then they have a lot of competition, because that's a very, very small percentage of men for a majority of women. So it's highly unlikely it's going to happen for a majority of women who want that.
Old, if not in their 50s. And unless you want to have a pretty large age gap marriage, I'm talking 10 to 20 years, which most people don't want because they want to experience all the different seasons of life together, then you should probably consider more regular so-called average men. I see a lot of women online.
Which is, the solution to this is to marry young. The solution for black women, women in general, but black women specifically, is to marry young. The average age a black woman marries is higher, older than most women of any race who marry. And that's 31 years old. So majority of black women are marrying older than other women of other races of women in America. 31 years old. That's definitely a lot older. The solution is to marry young so that you can journey in life through life together with your husband, and he may earn a lot of money eventually, that 6 figures, but at least y'all were together through it all. That's really what marriage is supposed to be, is a journey. But when you're 40, when you're in your late 30s, 40s and up, and then you're trying to get married, half of the journey is almost over. Let's be honest. That's why it's better to get married in your early 20s. It's better to get married earlier so you can have children earlier. So then they can grow up, and once they grow up and get out the house, you can enjoy your husband again, and y'all can discover new things about each other again. And all of it, it's a journey. That's why I believe marriage is for the young. Marriage starts out for the young. It's best to get married early, and stats show that couples who marry early stay together longer, are less likely to divorce, and are more satisfied in their marriages than couples who married at later ages.
A lot of women online pining after the top, not even 10% of male earners, but the top 5%, men who make at least $200,000 a year. Women who think that being with a regular dude is settling and complacent. I am not saying that money is an awful thing. I'm not saying every high-earning man is unwholesome. However, if money is the main focus or the highest goal, then it becomes disordered. If you're a young woman who wants to get married, start a family while you're still young, and you want a man who's also young, then you should not base your standards off of what the red pill manosphere collective call high value. There is no mention of character, no mention of piety, and if you do not take those things into consideration, then there will definitely be pitfalls. Firstly, when you're with this kind of powerful man, there's a high risk.
Pitfalls. Character is definitely something that I do not hear a lot of women talk about when I hear them talking about wanting to get married. I just hear, I want a man making this much money. But what about his character? And this is why Ayanla basically, this was what Ayanla was trying to tell Ebony, that if he loves driving the bus, a man of integrity, loves his mama, I can build with him. That is what we should be thinking about more so than the fact that he has a bus company, because if he has a company, she's going to get more into it. But who cares if he has a company and he doesn't have any morals, any values, and is treating you like whatever? Sometimes we overlook good, decent guys who could give us good lives. They just may not be making lots of money right now. Who's to say that they will always be making this money that they're making? They could start making more eventually. Most likely they will, but we overlook good guys who have integrity and character and who have the best characteristics to lead a home and be a father for foolish guys who just money. That is not, listen, the Bible says that money is the root of all evil. Money is a tool and a resource, but it should not be everything to you.
I risk that he's going to be unfaithful, as he may have a bigger ego, and there's no shortage of beautiful women who actively want to be with him for the same reasons. And
I believe there is a stat that says a majority wealthy men are more likely to cheat.
a worldly man has beautiful women throwing themselves at him, being faithful to one woman is more difficult and less enticing. I'm not saying these beautiful women are causing men to sin. When you sin, it is entirely your fault. But there are more temptations surrounding high-value men, which is why men in the manosphere and red pill collective weirdly try to reason that it's not unethical for a high-value man to cheat or to have a high body count. I'm not saying most high-value men cheat, but there is a higher proportion of them cheating.
And like she said, it's just a higher temptation. And why would you want to put yourself through that as a wife? Why? A lot of these basketball players, entertainers, high-powered attorneys, a lot of the reasons they get these divorces, these women, some of these, a lot of it is infidelity, and it's a mess. As a woman, you cannot have peace always thinking that your husband is out there going on a business trip cheating. Why would you even want to put yourself in that situation? Now, again, like she said, not all high value men are cheating. However, they have more options than the average everyday post office man, than the average everyday sanitary worker, than the janitor, than the bus driver, than, the office clerk. They have more options. They have more options. And a lot of times the women in their lives, they either know that they're cheating and they know that their men have more options and they don't care, because there are a lot of women who don't care as long as that man is able to give them the lifestyle that they want. Some women don't care if they're cheating. And that's on them. But I just don't see how that's going to make a good, solid marriage when you have all these trust issues, insecurities, and you have to deal with the fact that there may have been cheating.
Even if you do want to attract this kind of man, there is competition. And even if you do settle down with this type of man, you very well may not experience as much peace in the marriage because you are keenly aware of the fact that he has many options who are more or less throwing themselves at him. And that kind of thing would bother even the most secure of women. So, does this type of man give you a lavish lifestyle, status, convenience, financial security, and relief? In spades. But what about lasting intimacy, peace, or a tight-knit family? And hey, I get it. We are women. We value a man who can provide for us with resources because we're the ones who get pregnant and give birth, and therefore we want a man who can provide for us so that when we get pregnant, we can focus on being pregnant and being present mothers. But the transient thrill of being with someone of high value and the exclusive material benefits that they can offer you very well may narrow the scope of your vision. This intense attraction ultimately comes from our fallen desire to seek security in the world and not from God. Money is ultimately just a tool to exchange value, a means by which we achieve our goals. And if money is our highest goal in itself, then our life becomes shallow and we forget its meaning. You also may not have
And if money is our highest goal, you're going to overlook a lot of stuff, a lot of things that should not be overlooked in order to maintain that lifestyle, in order to stay with the money. So you're going to overlook a lot of red flags in a man if all you're looking for is a man that can offer you financial stability. You're going to overlook that, and a lot of women do, if they're honest. A lot of women do settle for men who are high value in order to live the lifestyle that they want. So you're going to compromise. You're going to compromise your values for money if that's all you're thinking about is he got to make a lot of money and you're not even thinking about his character.
Intimate of a marriage with a very high value man. These kinds of men are extremely ambitious and busy. They're total hustlers. I'm not only talking about celebrities, even doctors, lawyers, and lucrative business owners work around the clock. They are constantly busy.
Which is another thing that a lot of women do not say or think about when they say, I want this type of man, because a lot of women want to spend quality time with their husbands. Now, maybe you don't. Maybe you just want the benefit of a nice life. Okay. But for the women that do want quality time, that do want time spent with their husband, that do want their husbands at their children's recitals, want their husbands there on the day of the birth, want their husband to take some paternity leave, want their husbands to be around, help raise the children, and just to be intimate with you. It's gonna happen very less with the man that is working crazy hours. And high earning men, a lot of them work crazy hours and do not have the flexibility, or at least don't give themselves the flexibility to simply breathe and be that man that he needs you to be, that you want him to be. So if you're okay with the man missing a lot of birthdays, holidays, special events, barely being home, fine. But if you want your man there, then maybe a high earning man is not what you want, at least not while you're starting out.
And they enjoy being busy. How often are they going to slow down to be present with you and your family? They may view themselves being pillars of the family in only a financial sense. They may think, oh, I'm providing so much for you, that should be enough. When in reality, you are aching for more of a connection and intimacy. Your children are aching for a more present father who isn't always texting clients on his phone or always has to travel for business. Personally, I did not marry a high value man according to Kevin Samuels. He does not meet all of the criteria for being a high value man. He's high value to me, but he does not have it all figured out yet, and that's fine. Most men don't get their stuff together financially for a long time. Most men earn more as time goes on, but in their mid-20s, most men are not very high earners, and that is okay.
And I agree, and the same with my husband. My husband wasn't making a lot of money when we first got married. We lived in a very small studio house. Like, we didn't even have room for a crib. So it took us time to get to where we are now. And we're going to continue to grow. But it takes time. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of women today are not willing to build with a man. Grandma, grandpa, great-grandma, grandpa, women of old got married straight out of high school. They stayed with their man. They built, stayed in the same house for 20-something years, had children, raised them, and that was that. But that does not seem to be what a lot of women today want. It just doesn't. I'm not just including black women. I'm talking about general. It doesn't seem to be what a lot of women want these days. You want a man that already comes together. You don't want to build with the man. You don't want to be patient with the man, go through that season of growth, which is what marriage is. It's a journey. It's growing. And I think that is why a lot of women just say, I want to settle for a man that is already high value, already got it together. And I don't want to be with potential. And I've heard people say, don't be with potential. Don't be with potential. You just got to have discernment. But everybody is potential. Everybody has potential. Women have potential too. It's not about being with potential. That's one of the graces, the gifts that women have, is that we see potential in others, especially men, and we grab a hold of that and we inspire them to grow and we go on a journey with them. That's one of our gifts, but it's like some of us are throwing that away because we just want a man that already comes ready together and put together, and we don't want to grow with them. And that is the problem why I think a lot of women just want a man already put together. And like she said, most men are not.
Becomes your new normal, and you may end up yearning for the kinds of things you could have had you focused less on finding a high value man, as the manosphere red pill folk define the term, and focused more on finding a godly man, even if you had to settle for a more modest lifestyle. I am definitely not here to invalidate positive experiences that women have had with high earning men. My ultimate point is that what's truly important in a man is not his status. It's not whether he runs an incredibly lucrative business or whether he earns.
I love the inspirational symphonic music in the background while she's talking, like, yeah, girl, inspire us, girl, inspire us.
Figures. What's important is that he's a hard worker, that he can take care of you and perhaps your growing family, that he's repentant and earnestly loves and respects you. I know firsthand how attractive lots of money and status is, but that emphatically does not make a good husband. If we remain devoted to worldly things and enslaved to our fallen desires, then we're not too dissimilar to those who completely reject or ignore their femininity. Our femininity then becomes a shallow raiment whose only purpose is.
That is where I'm going to end this video. It's not just that some women don't want to build with the man today, but a lot of the Instagram, a lot of the social media, a lot of the stuff that we see online, comparing ourselves to what this woman has or what this marriage seems to have, it's ruining us. It's giving us unrealistic expectations of men and of marriage. Would you really want a man making so much money if you weren't trying to reach after a certain lifestyle? Listen, Chris Rock said, men can't go backward in sex, And women can't go backward in lifestyle. Meaning once a man has experienced the type of sex that he likes, he's always going to expect that. That's always what he's going to want, no matter if he's with the same woman or not. And women, they can't experience a backwards in lifestyle. Once they have the lifestyle that they really want, they always want to maintain that lifestyle. They're not trying to go backwards. I can say that there is some truth with that. I like the lifestyle that I have. I don't want to go back to when I was living in a small house with my husband. Although I'm grateful for that day, but it wouldn't make sense to go back. I have children now. I have material possessions. I have different things. So I like the space that I have now. And I believe that's true for a lot of women, which is why we may want a man that has lots of money. However, it took us some time to get here, is what I'm saying. I was building with my husband, and we have to be willing to build with men. And a lot of those men aren't going to be high earners at first. And also, we have to stop comparing ourselves and thinking that marriage is taking yacht vacations, hiring a nanny and babysitter to raise our children, girls trips and all this stuff that we see celebrities living in these huge mansions, in these huge houses. That's what we want because we see, so-and-so husband online doing it. I really believe that if women just stop with social media as much as we did, we probably would have better lives, have better relationships, have no problem finding a decent man, and we wouldn't want so much. But we really have a hard time comparing ourselves because we just want too much because of what we see others. So great video by Mrs. Jasmine Theodora. Those are the reasons and the things and the reasons, my theories and other theories I've heard that why black women are not getting married. I'm going to just give you 2 solutions. Or 3. This is why, and which is some of the reasons why this channel is here. Here's a solution for black women to get married. Number 1, do it God's way. Do it God's way. Value character over material possessions and money. That should be like second and third. Character should be first. Character, values, morals should be first. Material a good job should be second. Okay. Value a man being integral, being consistent and integral. And being integral, value those things over the money. Value those things over the money. Another thing is get married young. I said this before, but black women, we should consider getting married young. Why are we getting married way later than any other race of women? We should consider getting married young. I got married at 21 years old, and my husband and I have grown. We are in our 30s now, early 30s. I'm telling you right now, we get married young. It'll solve a lot of problems. You'll have less baggage, less emotional baggage, less mental baggage, spiritual baggage, all that stuff. Because the more relationships you accumulate through life, and then you finally settling down at 31 years old or older, you may bring all of that emotional trauma and baggage into your marriage. And that's not going to be a good marriage, which is why I think black women are more likely to get divorced. Because there's too much emotional trauma. There may be too much. So get married young as early as possible. I am an advocate for early marriage. Get married young and grow through life together. Do it God's way. And I believe God's way is to get married young. Now, God will have you get married in your 40s and 50s and all that stuff. That can happen. But I do believe that in order for the population to keep going, in order for children to be produced, in order to be able to raise them successfully, and in order to just basically grow with your husband, you should get married young. Now, if you're a black woman and you're in your 30s or up watching this and you desire to be married and you've missed that, then encourage your daughters, encourage your young black women around you to get married young. Show them this video, encourage them, but also start working on yourself so you can attract the man that you want. Focus on being that Proverbs 31 woman. That is the superhero of all women. Not Cleopatra, not Storm, from the comic books. Not Wonder Woman, but as Christian women, Proverbs 31 woman is the superhero woman. She was everything and and her husband trusted her. She had it together, but also she feared the Lord. And it says she will be greatly praised. So thank you. Oh my goodness. We've been going for a while. If you are still listening, thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you took something from this positively. I hope you're going to rethink, think about things. Ask God how he wants you to change, how he wants to use you in the space of getting married, how he can help you better become a wife. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to end this with the prayer. God, thank you for the time that I had with your Black women. And I just pray that you will bless them. I pray that they were blessed. I pray that they were convicted. I pray that they were convinced that marriage is for them and that they can be a wife. And I thank you for showing them the strategy that you're going to give them to help them get there. Bless them. Let them all have beautiful days. In Jesus' name, amen. Bye.